In Activity 7, Water In, Water Out, students investigate the permeability and saturation characteristics of 3 different types of earth materials. They compared the amount of time it takes for water to pass through gravel, sand, and clay soil, and then compared the amount of time it takes for water to be absorbed by the 3 materials after they have become saturated. Finally, they graph the results of their experiments. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 7, plastic beakers, foam cups, nylon mesh, wooden sticks, gravel, clay soil, and sand. You will also need to provide a stopwatch, pencils, marking pens, scissors, and tap water. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 7 for each student. Cut each piece of nylon mesh into a circle using the bottom of a foam cup as a template. Each team needs 3 nylon mesh circles, a stopwatch, a pencil, 6 foam cups, 6 wooden sticks, and a beaker. Set the bags of sand, gravel, and clay soil at a distribution station. Fill a pitcher with tap water and set it next to the bags. You will probably need to refill the pitcher several times. To begin the activity, initiate a discussion by asking, when it rains or when snow melts, where does the water go? Students should reply that the water either soaks into the ground or flows as runoff in streams or rivers. Inform them that an earth material such as gravel, sand, or soil is permeable if water can pass down through it. Go on to explain that some earth materials are more permeable than others. Then ask students, how can puddles of water form on top of soil that is permeable? Students may suggest that rain can fall and snow can melt faster than the soil can pass it. Inform them that as water filters down, it fills in the air spaces that exist between particles of the earth material. When all the spaces are filled, the material is said to be saturated. Saturated material cannot pass water as quickly as unsaturated material can. The excess water forms puddles on the surface of the material. Inform the class that they will conduct an experiment to test the permeability and saturation characteristics of 3 different types of earth materials. Show the students the 3 different materials they will use for this activity and ask, in what ways do these 3 kinds of materials differ? Students should observe that they differ in texture, particle size, and color. Then ask, if you lived in a rainforest, which of these types of materials would you like around the foundation of your house? Earth materials that are permeable or ones that are impermeable. Students should suggest that soil best allows the water to permeate through would be advantageous in an area subject to heavy rainfall. Distribute a copy of Activity Sheet 7 to each student. Invite the students to inspect the different samples and ask them to predict which sample will allow water to pass through fastest and which will allow the water to pass through slowest. Then, distribute the materials to each team. Have each team use the point of a pencil to punch 14 small holes in the bottom of 3 of their cups. Next, have them place a nylon mesh circle in the bottom of each hole-riddled cup and add a little less than a beaker full of earth material to these same cups, 1 type of material per cup. Then, place 2 wooden sticks across the top of an empty cup and set a cup filled with material on top of the sticks. Tell students to fill a beaker with 100 milliliters of water and place it next to their setups. Explain that when they are ready, one team member will say go and start the stopwatch, at which time another team member will pour the water from the beaker into a cup containing one of the sample materials. Encourage the students to pour the water briskly, but not so fast as to dislodge the material in the cup. When students see the first drop of water fall from the holes in the bottom of the cup, they should note the amount of time that has elapsed, but do not stop the watch yet. When all of the water has disappeared from the surface, then stop the watch. Students will record these times and graph their data in steps 2 and 3 of the activity sheet. Instruct students to repeat the experiment with all 3 types of materials. When all teams have finished recording their results, have them return to the first sample tested. Have them discard the water that has collected in the bottom cup and then pour another 100 milliliters of water into the cup containing the sample. This time, have students measure the amount of time it takes for all of the water to soak into the sample and record the time in step 4 of their activity sheets. Instruct the teams to repeat this process with the other 2 samples. After all the teams have finished, ask students, which material was the most permeable? How do you know? The gravel was the most permeable material tested, as it allowed the water to pass through in the shortest amount of time. Then ask, which material became most saturated? How could you tell? Clay soil became most saturated because the longest time was required for all of the water to soak in. Clay is impermeable. Finally, summarize by asking students what happens when it rains on ground that is already saturated. The water runs off carrying soil with it, which is erosion. To conclude the activity, discard the water and the earth materials in the cups. Rinse and air dry the cups, wooden sticks, beakers, and mesh circles. Return them along with what's left of the open bags of gravel, sand, and clay soil to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.